Most entrepreneurs think marketing is about getting the cheapest lead. I don't. I think marketing is about positioning. For the past decades, our company has tested almost every channel you can imagine. Digital, radio, direct mail, SEO, pay-per-click, and outdoor advertisement has been consistent part of the strategy. Not because it's flashy, not because it's trendy, but because it does something different. It creates presence. Today, I'm here with Clear Channel, one of the largest outdoor advertisement companies in the country. We worked with them for years. I wanted to sit down and have a real conversation about billboards, what works, what doesn't, and how serious operators should think about outdoor media in 2026. This isn't about hype, it's about strategy, it's about building a long-term brand. If you're trying to dominate the market, not just survive in it, this conversation will matter. Let's talk what actually moves the needle. We're going to have an amazing tour of Clear Channel office, and we have these three gentlemen, Todd, Joel, and Matt. So show us around. What do you have here?
All right.
Love to.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Andrey.
I love this billboard, by the way.
Yes.
This is the highlight of the warehouse. Yeah.
Okay. And it feels so big, right?
Yeah, it feels humongous. Okay.
That's beautiful.
This is your standard 14 by 48 billboard that you see on the street. So it's
Like when I'm driving, it seems to me so small, but in reality, it's huge.
yeah.
Man.
Yep. It looks great. The copy looks great, and glad we could get it up for you guys.
Nice and clean and simple. Good message.
Yeah.
So
All right, well,
And
let's
then
see.
come this way.
our installers just put up a little message for you.
Oh, wow. That's a super welcome.
So we use this for another client. It was a build out. We can do some really cool things. It's not just, it's sort of a blank canvas, a billboard, right? And so we can do build outs, we can do extensions, embellishments. This is one that we used for another partner of ours, and we kept it in warehouse just to hopefully, repurpose it someday.
And
But,
who's playing tennis here?
Not a lot of spare time around here. We work really hard.
Oh, come on.
You want to play right now?
Yeah, I don't mind. I love playing tennis. Yeah, let's do quick.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joel.
Quick.
Are you gonna take it easy on me?
Okay, who loses does 20 push-ups.
Sounds good.
Whoa! Oh, wow!
I'm losing there.
Is that Clyde ping pong? What's happening?
Do you know there is a national tennis league?
Yeah,
Yeah. Have you ever seen the game?
Yeah.
they're incredible.
Oh no.
Okay, 2-0. You lost. Okay. Thank you, Joel.
Push-ups after you leave.
Okay, I know it just was a warm-up for you.
No. Very good.
Okay.
So this is just
Yeah,
storage of
it's
all.
awesome. Thanks so much.
You see stuff that we use for extensions. Up here you have lights for illumination on the billboards at night. These are old bulbs, new bulbs, ready in case we need to replace. So just kind of storage of everything that goes through with the billboards.
So I'm just curious, when it's cold and windy in Minnesota, who are the brave guys who install the billboards?
These are the guys that are around our warehouse right now. They're fantastic. Our operations team. They're out there if it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They're out there if it's 20 below.
Yeah.
They're pretty incredible.
And how high are billboards are? What is the highest billboard?
Yeah.
Each one is different.
Yeah,
right?
I think our highest structure is about 70 feet,
Wow.
and some of them are near surface level, but most of them are in that 30 to 50 foot range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the windy days are hard, but they're kind of hanging out over here, got their installs done for the day, and now they're just kind of managing the warehouse. So you can see here, this is where all the vinyls are kept.
Okay.
So when they come in through that loading dock, and then they get stored here until installation day. So they're organized by route, and so that might go to the west side of the city. This might go east, right? So it's easy to grab and go for it to go into the trucks and then go out and install the billboard. So
And how long does it take to install a billboard like this?
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so quick. Wow.
They're professionals, and it's all about that operational efficiency, making sure the route is We've got them going to the right place. They've got the right vinyls, and there's a big crew, big team that goes on, helps us with that.
Yeah.
So,
And safety's our top priority.
yeah.
Everyone wears harnesses, they're tied off. It's a big deal for us.
Yeah, that's a tough job, like to
Yeah.
put up those billboards.
They're great guys. And then over here we just have more storage of vinyls and everything. So we have, as you can see, Andre, we have a really big warehouse, no shortage of storage space. But we have a big product. We need a big warehouse, right?
Yeah, and is this the warehouse seems like half empty? Is it always like this, or?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So billboards weren't always printed, vinyls weren't always printed. And we actually had this space back when we were hand painting. So we would use projectors like you'd have in grade school, and we would project up, the design, and we'd actually have painters. So we had at one point, I believe, almost 100 employees out here painting by hand.
Wow.
The billboard. So we still have the space, and obviously we're not using it all right now, but it's very nice to have extra space for storage of extensions and different things. And over here you can see what it looks like after we have used the vinyls, what they look like when they're being recycled. So we compress them, and then we send them to a partner of ours who recycles and reuses the material.
Yeah, that's very nice. And where you guys actually printing those vinyls?
Yeah, we have a partner, a printer, that does that printing for us throughout the entire country. And so we have been partnered with them for a very long time, and they send stuff to us. We can typically get stuff done very quickly and done with them. We've worked with local printers in the past, but they've really come through for us and have been a great partner. So.
All right. What else we can see here?
Yeah. Let's show the extensions where we build those. So one of the things, Andrey, that we can do with billboards is, again, we're not limited to that canvas, that 14 by 48. Sometimes we can go above and beyond and do some really cool things. And so our great ops team will actually build this stuff out. We'll build it by hand, and you can see some of the leftover material from that, but we actually have to build a structure to support the vinyl that goes above and beyond that rectangular 14 by 48. And that's all done by hand. It's all done right here. And I think they kind of enjoy doing that, something
Yeah, that's
different.
really. What is the coolest billboards you ever built here?
We did one in partnership with the Minnesota Vikings and Netflix recently. That was really cool. They had some embellishment and extensions around the holiday Christmas Day game. So we used just some garland around the outside, some Christmas lights, and that really cool extension piece as well. But we've done that with a lot of different partners, different variations of it. And it's great because, we'll talk a little bit later about what you can do to catch eyes. But if you can do something a little bit different that goes above and beyond, it certainly captures attention.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see what else.
Yeah.
Do you want to see the cranes or no?
Sure. Yeah. Let's just go look in there.
So
Yeah, the other
We've
day.
got about 5.
we have two trucks, Matt or Todd, correct me here, that kind of get raised up that if we need support. We have a few boards that need that crane to get to the top, and just like for safety reasons, or they don't have, a catwalk to walk up. So it takes a little bit longer of an install, a little bit more attention to detail. And so you can see here though, we have the front facing where they can get, but they, again, to Todd's point, safety is a priority. So they're still wearing their harnesses, and they have the vinyl with them, and they get raised up, and they do installs that way. So we have a few locations that require these. Most don't, but extensions, we might need a little extra support.
Wow, this is a real vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine how the elements might affect our ability sometimes to install material, but our team is fantastic, getting stuff up on time, sometimes early if possible. And little things like wind, can really affect if you've got this massive vinyl up there and it catches some wind. It can be very dangerous, and so they have a very specific way that they install these things to limit risk and different things like that. So it's pretty rare to miss an install due to weather, because these guys are just pros.
Wow, that's very impressive.
So
This is our normal size poster. So
Okay.
when we talk about our program we run the bulletins, we run the digital bulletins, and we're heavying up on the posters. These are going to be your neighborhoods, your South Minneapolis. I mean, we have them all over the plant, but just kind of think of that vibe, that side street. So this is great, kind of that localized, smaller feel, but still impactful. And these will reach your neighborhoods like right off the block.
how durable these posters are?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this one we use a little bit, it's called an eco material, and it's not quite as durable as the larger bulletin. It feels almost like a tarp that's been printed on. So these are single use, and we really like to see these, replaced every 2 to 3 months out in the elements, because the last thing we want is for a partner of ours to pay for media space and have it not look good on the street, right? Whether that's due to high winds and different things, these do have a shelf life out in the open. So,
Yeah.
And bulletins, generally speaking, are more durable. They can last anywhere between 6 months and a year out in the weather.
So this billboard is from last year.
Yep.
This big
This
one.
is one that you had on the street, and it still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one already been on the road for 6 months or 12 months?
Yeah, this was early. This was Q1 of 2025,
Yeah.
so it's been over a year since
This
this
is in pretty good shape.
Yeah, these are single use, so you could every time you take it down or do a copy change, you need to print for a new one. But less cost for sure on this piece, but pros and cons to both. So here we have our old sales area, and these are some sales assistants desks.
Looks like a boiler room.
Yeah.
What's the mission? We connect brands and consumers, delivering innovative advertising and selling solution while enhancing our community. Real cool. Integrity, innovation, excellence, and safety. Really important.
So some offices here, and then this is where our sales team is.
So this is all your locations?
Yeah. Yep. So that's and the different colors represent different types of displays. We've got the bulletins in green. The digitals have the green with the black outline, and then red is our poster. Really, really nice coverage around the entire Twin Cities metro area. We're very proud of that, and we've worked very hard on developing
Yeah,
the
that's
plan.
a really cool idea. Like, want to do the same.
It's over like 900 to 1,000 on here. So
1,000 billboards in the Twin Cities?
yeah,
Yep.
Wow.
these red ones are the posters. They make up about 60% of our inventory, with bulletins and digitals the other 40%.
How many billboards out front has? In
I
Twin Cities?
don't have an exact number, but it's my understanding they have about half of the inventory we do
So you-
for bulletins and digital.
You're the dominant player here in Minneapolis.
We're very fortunate to have some really good locations and good spots. Yeah.
That's my desk.
Yeah.
So that's my 10-month-old now, if you want to look at him. This was at Halloween.
Oh,
was
beautiful
him.
kid.
Different than your kids, huh? Who are now
I still
entering
keep the
high
picture
school.
when this.
Yeah, it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So this is, but we have, you won't see it today, but we have folks sitting all in here and here. So this is we call it the sales pit, and we have, everything's pretty much full on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. So,
Okay.
and then
So this is the front entrance? Yeah.
this is the front entrance, so you can poke your head in here. This is the conference room.
Yeah, looks good.
Got some cool art on the wall from our local sports teams, just to, have some cool visuals.
Okay.
And then that's pretty much it in terms of up here. Those are just kind of not executive walls, conference rooms for meetings. So if sales reps want to take a call in there, they can.
Most small operators ask how many calls I get. Bigger operators ask what position does this create in the market. So how should serious operators think about billboards?
That's a really good question. So I think that the billboard is the best thing you can do to create brand, create presence, familiarity, and trust within a market. You want people to think of your name and your business as somebody who's local, right? Who's working here in the market. And really that is a long-term play. So it really is about having that built out. It's about having it, over time, and you're really able to build that brand.
So when does outdoor advertisement make sense and when it doesn't make sense?
Yeah. Well, I would say it always makes sense, Andre. There's never a time where billboards don't make sense. However, there are times where we're doing an out-of-home campaign, a billboard campaign, is makes more sense than other times. And if you're struggling as a brand, if you are trying to increase market share, there's always a good time to use billboards, because to Matt's point earlier, to have that brand awareness, that top funnel, and increase that credibility in the marketplace. It's going to give you more market share. It's going to give you an increased amount of leads. It's going to increase sales at the end of the day. So there's never a time where someone will invest into billboards and it won't positively impact their ad campaign. It's just, how do you do it and use billboards most effectively that can really swing the pendulum in terms of impact.
Okay, well, next question. How long does it actually take before outdoor builds momentum? If I buy a billboard, invest my marketing dollars, like when I expect the returns?
That's a really fair question, and it's one that's very important, right? If you're investing in something, you want to see a return and you want to see it quickly. I always encourage patience with billboards, and here's why. Because we want to get to a certain frequency with the campaign. If somebody sees a billboard once, they may not take action, right? We want to make sure that they see it on their way to work every single day, on their way to pick up the kids, on their way home at night, right? So that frequency is very important. You can achieve that frequency two ways. You can get there by doing many, many billboards for a short period of time. So they're seeing it in different areas throughout their, commute and driving throughout the city. Or you can get there by having presence on fewer locations, maybe even just one location, but you're there for a very extended period of time, a year, for example. That frequency it'll take longer to get there. But it really is about what the strategy is. So if you're doing many locations for a shorter duration, I think that it's acceptable to expect a return quicker. And if you're on fewer locations for a longer period of time, that return, it's going to take a little bit longer.
So if you have a limited budget, what would be your recommendation? I'm new to advertisement. Should I go spread my advertisement across the city, or focus on one specific location and really concentrate my marketing efforts in that specific neighborhood?
Yeah, I think, again, it does depend on your strategy, right? If you are trying to be a market-wide brand, it might make sense to do multiple locations for a shorter duration. However, if your marketing budget is smaller and you want to really maximize that one or two locations for longer period of time, that will make an impact in itself. But again, it depends. If you have a business in the south side of the market exclusively, and that's your 10-mile radius, you're going to want to maybe do that single board strategy. Whereas, and if you have target audiences who live all over the market, you're going to want to get the multi-billboard strategy, and that will be the more effective play for that strategy. So it just depends on what your goals are for the campaign, and we can accommodate both.
Okay. And what mistakes do experienced advertisers still make? What do you see common mistakes?
Yeah, that's a good question. The creative on a billboard is very important. The message you're delivering and how concise you are with that message is very important. So I always encourage advertisers to be short and simple with your message. We have to remember that people are consuming this message while they're driving 50, 60, and 70 miles an hour. It's very important to just be very clean with the copy. So use color contrast, right, with the text. And I think, we see that really great with your brand, the orange and the red and the white, 7 words or less. We don't need a full sentence. We don't need too much going on. Again, we have to deliver this message in 2, 3, 4 seconds while they're being exposed. And so simplicity is really key. And I would say that that's maybe a mistake that some advertisers still make, is just putting too much on the billboard.
So do you give them feedback like, hey guys, you did all wrong?
Yeah. We always want to be careful with that conversation, because, understandably, if it's a campaign they put a lot of time into, they're very proud of their work. But it's our job to make sure that it works, right? So we have a really talented creative design team that knows exactly what needs to go on a billboard to make it effective, to get that response, and to get it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I remember myself when we did the first billboard campaign, we did it all wrong. And the message was too long, not consistent, and also when you drive during the night, it was hard to see, hard to read. And I still, when I'm driving around, I pay a lot of attention. Like a lot of advertisers still make same mistake. They invest hard-earned money into billboard campaign, but somehow it's hard to read,
Right.
or too many words, or maybe not enough billboards. Let's talk a little bit about how do you measure, what is the metric, most important metric or key performance indicator. If I want to do a billboard campaign, how many billboards, what is the gold standard? How many billboards do you need to put out? Or how do you measure them to make sure that it's not too many billboards and not too little, but to create awareness? I think this metric called total rating points.
Yeah.
We can talk about.
Total rating points is a metric that's used in all of advertising, regardless of which medium you're using, whether that's TV, radio, billboards, out of home. And that is the 100 total rating points, or TRPs, is sort of the gold standard on capturing an entire market. So you are really creating an impact when you hit that threshold. And that's a really good metric to hit. Now, not everybody can get there with their budget. So as Joel was discussing earlier, if budgets are limited, that's okay. We can still make an impact, but we have to shrink our plan geographically to target a specific area and still get that threshold of moving the needle, creating an impact in a smaller sector of a given market.
So you have a limited budget, just go into one location and buy location there instead of being all over where people don't really pay attention to the billboards.
Right. I think you don't want to be too thin, too wide. I think if budgets are limited, you want to be a little bit deeper on a more narrow target.
Over the years, we've noticed that billboards response isn't always immediate, but when it works, it compounds. So why do some campaigns take time?
Yeah, no, that's a concern of many advertisers. Oh, it doesn't work. And that this simply has to do with kind of the strategy and how long you're in market. It does take time. You've experienced this with us as you've been a great partner for going on a decade now. And it starts to work the longer you're up and the frequency year over year that you're up. Where a campaign might struggle is being up for a short amount of time with a few boards. To Matt's point about, being thin, not enough locations, and not being up long enough. So where you're going to see the most success as an advertiser is investing into this, not just 1 year and seeing the results, but multiple years, the brand awareness over and over and over again. And then you'll slowly gain market share. You'll slowly gain that brand credibility to the point where, people, your household name, when they need that, product or service that the brand is offering, that they will call you as a result. And so it's really important to just, educate our customers to understand that it is, it's a long-term play, and you can't just test it and get out and expect a return, because quite frankly, they probably won't see that return.
Okay. Well, if someone has a $100,000 budget, should they put it into billboards or digital?
That's a great question.
This is the only money that they have.
Yeah. And you might think as two of us that sell billboards, we would say 100% into billboards. But I actually think that you need to have balance in your marketing campaign. I think that if we think about the consumer funnel, from the top where the brand is, that's going to be where you're building familiarity, you're building brand equity, all that stuff, which is critical as you move down. You know, you maybe you've built that brand, then there's a need, and they become curious. The consumer becomes curious. You know, in your world, maybe they've inherited a home they're having troubles managing. They need to go somewhere to learn about what to do with this property. That's where your website and all that brand and search and everything goes in to this strategy. And then down at the bottom of the funnel is very hyper, you know, targeted digital advertisement. I think that the investment level needs to follow the shape of that funnel to where you're putting a majority of your budget into the top, into your brand, because to Joel's point, that needs to be ever present. You need to always be present there. And then there still needs to be a focus on the bottom of the funnel, because everybody knows who you are, but there's no call to action medium. There's nothing grabbing them when they're ready to call. Then it's all for naught. You know, I think that everything has to be working together.
Yeah, right now, when we want to understand how the customer called us, they tell us, well, we saw your advertisement on TV, then we heard you on the radio, and then I was driving back home and we saw your billboards, and then we got your letter, and then you called us and we got email from you. So people have no idea. But over time, the presence builds up and credibility builds up. So I agree with you 100%. Is billboard advertisement becoming stronger or weaker in digital age?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, you may think that the shift of digital is bad for us, but actually what it's allowed us to do is get more data, get more information to make our medium, the billboard, better, stronger. So we now know so much more about the consumer because of you know, mobile data, and we capture devices that pass by our billboards, device IDs. It's all anonymous, it's all aggregated, but we know over time what types of people pass by each one of our billboards. So if you have a specific demographic or behavior audience you'd like to target, we now have more knowledge and data to back saying you should be on this board or these 3 boards, because they're going to hit your target demographic at a higher rate than some of our other inventory. So I think it actually has been strong for us, because the presence of the cell phone, the presence of all this data that we now have has been really good for our business, and it's trickling down to our advertising partners.
Right. Well, let's answer. I have a few questions. Interesting. Billboards are dead. Is it right?
Billboards are dead.
Billboards are not dead. Andrey, if billboards were dead, I wouldn't be here sitting talking to you, right? I have a job. No, it's billboards are alive and well, and I think what's changing is the billboards are getting to be, you know, up to date with the times. So we're investing more and more into digital billboards, and why is because there's A, demand for it, and B, our best locations, you know, we're investing into that product. It's the client wants it, and it's good for the business, and you can see that billboards are evolving, and they're not dead, they're evolving, and there is still a demand for them. As you drive around in Miami or Palm Beach or Minneapolis or Chicago, you see billboards everywhere, and that is not going away. They're full of all different kinds of brands around, you know, in every category, who value that as a medium to hit their audience. And so, you know, if you say billboards are dead, I would say go for a drive, and we'll understand that, you know, they're still growing and living well.
Okay. Well, next question is, only lawyers use billboards. Is it true?
Only lawyers? Yeah, I certainly, you know, legal is a very strong category of ours.
Why is that?
You know, it's just they value always being on. So we talk about that presence and always being out there. How many times throughout a person's life are they going to need to call a personal injury lawyer? Hopefully never, but maybe once. And so it's super important that when that time comes in a person's life, they're top of mind. This you know, lawyer is top of mind. And so it's very important for them to always be present. If they're driving home and they just had, you know, an accident, they've been injured or something happened, you know, and then they see that billboard, that is incredible timing, right? And it's just very important to be top of mind when that happens.
Next question, I think very important. We always, in our company, when we track ROI, it's almost impossible to track. So how do you track the ROI, return of investment, from billboards?
Yeah. Tracking ROI, it can be difficult with a billboard. We, again, are investing in many, many tools. We've got attribution studies. So now we have the ability to look at those exposed to a billboard and then those unexposed to a billboard and see if there was a lift. So do we show that there were 30%, more visits from the audience that was exposed to a billboard calling in versus those that were unexposed? And we know that lift was due to that billboard exposure. The other thing that we're doing, and this works a little bit better with those that have brick and mortar locations, like those with restaurants and different things like that. But we have something we're rolling out called in-flight insights. So we can actually geofence their location. We can look at the people who were exposed to a billboard and see, did they visit that store? Did they visit that restaurant? We can give insight as far as how far did they travel to get to the restaurant and different things like that. So we're investing very heavily on the data. We believe that that's super important for the future of our business.
Let's talk a little about what should be on billboards. So let's look at our billboards and let's just analyze honest feedback. Because again, like our marketing team put it together last year. This year we have improved, but I'd like to hear from you what you like about it, what you don't like it, and what we can improve.
I like that. Let's start with the pros and things we like about the creative. You're going to see a big logo on the right side of the billboard, taking out probably 25% of the space. And we love that. Big logos. That way people driving by can understand really quickly who the brand is. That's number one. If they don't understand who the brand is, there's no point in the phone number. There's no point in anything else a part of the ad. So that's a great start. Yeah, you also see that you're, I think, at 7 words. So 6 words, you're right at that mark where it's really good to be at. We encourage that under 7 words. Why? It's clean. It's easy to read. From old home to sold home. In 6 words, you can understand what you're trying to communicate to your audience. I think that's important to be clear in your messaging. And so those are like some great qualities with this ad. Some things that we could maybe implement in the future is having a visual to go on with it, as billboards are a visual medium. And if someone maybe doesn't understand the logo or they can't read the 7 words, they can understand a message. And so if there's an opportunity to maybe put, a house or a sold sign or something, so that way people in a split second with an image can understand what you're trying to buy or what you're trying to communicate to the audience. That is something that we could work on in the future. And I'm confident that, we'll make sure that creative's great down the line. But this is, compared to other stuff you might see on the streets, this is an awesome, clean creative. The contrast, the orange on the white, really pops, and it's unmistakable when you drive by this that it's Homestead Road and what you're trying to communicate. So I like it. There's always room to improve, but we're at the top 10-15% of clean, good billboard creatives right now.
And we'll take your feedback very seriously. Thank you, Joel. And this year we're going to add additional creative ad to the billboard.
Yeah.
So to have a association of joy and happiness. And I cannot wait to see our billboards up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we put a phone number or should we not?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because we were talking about ROI earlier and tracking success of a billboard. And that's one way to do it, is to have a unique phone number specific to the billboard campaign. So that when you get call-ins from that phone number, we can attribute it to the billboard. We're actually going away from including the phone number on the billboard. And here's why. People are driving when they're consuming this message. And even, though there may be some added value in people consuming this message in the passenger seat, most of the people passing by consuming this message are driving themselves. And the last thing we want to do is encourage somebody to take out their phone and type in a phone number while they're also operating a vehicle. It's also very hard to do, right? So we are kind of getting away from the phone number and going more to the data, the behind the scenes that we have on the, in-flight insights that I had mentioned, on the attribution studies that we can do by capturing device IDs, cell phone information as they pass by the billboard. That does not require somebody to take their phone out of their pocket, and that does not distract them from what they're doing on the road.
And there's a good chance that, people might see this billboard 30, 40, 50 times, and they'll know exactly who you are, and they'll go Google you to find your phone number on their phone, because then it's one quick call.
Right.
So they might end up calling you from the Google phone number, but they typed in your name on Google because they saw your ad 50 times. So there is an element of, why don't we use that space to increase your logo or make it cleaner, so more readable, and just have maybe a more effective copy, knowing that, well, phone numbers can work in some instances, so the consumer likely is going to a different source to find a different phone number that's easier for them.
You have to think about, you want them to remember your name and your brand. You don't care too much about them remembering your phone number. It's pretty difficult to remember, a long phone number, but Homestead Road and your name and your brand, a lot easier to remember.
Yeah, and that's a really good insight. Well, thank you very much, Matt and Joel. I appreciate the conversation, and I cannot wait to see our new billboards. They will be up in a couple of weeks, and with the new creative based on your feedback. And we're going to report roughly how many calls we receive from those billboards and how we measure within 90 days.
Great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Thank you, Andrey, for doing this. This is awesome.
Thanks. Here's what I've learned over the years. Marketing channels come and go. Algorithms change. Costs fluctuate. Platforms rise and fall. But visibility never goes out of style. The real question isn't, will this get me a deal tomorrow? The real question is, what position I'm building in my market. Billboards are not magic, they're not a shortcut. They're commitment, and the operators who long-term tend to think in commitments, not experiments. If you're serious about growth, don't just ask what's the cheapest. Ask what makes you unavoidable. Thanks for watching. If you tested outdoor advertisement, I'd love to hear your experience.